Let's go through how, if you are sitting here and you want to walk through right now and configure this, let's go through that process. I always like doing the first kind of pass with you guys, because the discovery I find as I'm going through it, where if I pre-prepare for it, the questions or the discovery that I find as I go through it, there's certain things that will not come out if I come and give you a polished video where I've done it like 5 times and then I build the content and then I give it to you. You won't see some of that discovery, and some of that stuff's the real critical fixes. Like I might find something that needs to be tweaked and then that would never come out in a tutorial video. And then you're sitting there like, WTF, dude, I've done everything that you asked me to, or you've shown me, and then it's still not working. And lo and behold, there's this one step that wasn't part of that tutorial. How many times has that happened? Not just mining rigs, just in general. So I always like taking a first pass in Twitch. That way you guys kind of see that discovery and any kind of quirks and stuff that we find. And then that's good for folks to help iterate in future videos to make that stuff known. So essentially the page that you're going to come to when you first go, Hashrate.os here. And if you go to that, this is your URL. And let's see here if you guys can see that. You can't see it because it's underneath the stupid thing there. Obviously, you guys can click through kind of why Hashrate and all that stuff. I mean, that's kind of the cool marketing pitch. This will give you kind of the cost and structure. Yeah, it says right here, up to 3 miners is on them. So all that effort and all that time and the website and cost and maintaining all that. Dudes, they're giving you a solid for the broskis out there. They're not just hitting you just with 1 miner. They're giving you up to 3, which that's going to cover a lot of the general like enthusiasts that have mining rigs. They're gonna, you could consolidate your GPUs into a single rig. If you have 4 rigs and maybe you take it down to 3, not telling you how to game the system, but just saying the efficiency standpoint. Or you can give the bros a good tip and go with the Pro Miner and have a greater than 3 devices there. Now, the 24/7 customer support and service, I'm assuming, is going to be that Discord channel. They do have a kind of a walkthrough here. I'm actually going to just walk you guys through this, so it saves you a little bit of the time. We're going to log in once you've registered. If you have not registered, you'll come in here, you'll fill out your basics. You'll have to confirm that on your email, and then we're going to log in. So the cluster allows you to have different clusters of stuff. So why you'd probably want to do something like that, to where, like right now I have a test cluster where I would throw rigs into this, but if I wanted to add another cluster, I could say, Todd's rigs. And what that allows you to do is have, if you're managing multiple farms, essentially, you could have things bucketed. You could also have specific, we're going to come back here real quick. And so right now, this is essentially what you would see if you logged in after you've okayed your account. You have no rigs or anything set up right now. One of the very first things I did personally is I went in and I went to see what does, how does it control the wallets? How can I have multiple wallets? Can I change the names? Could I have, you can add a wallet and then you can point to specific wallets. So even if I had an ETC wallet, I could say, Todd's ETC wallet, and add that. And then once that's added, then ETC, you can start to type ETC, select the pool. A lot of those pre-configures. This is a lot of the stuff that I was trying to do with the multi-miner originally, before we started building until people started really building cool OSs. This is essentially the pre-configured, notion that there's already a lot of these pre-configs. Now, this is a lot of work, so somebody's got to maintain this. This is part of what you guys are paying for when you have multiple more than 4 rigs, is to keep these updated whenever they change. Any of these change their actual, like if I go into Nanopool, if Nanopool changes its ports, they're going to have to come in here and edit these ports, right? If you want to edit the templates that are built in here. So I can choose East, US East for Nanopool at gmail.com. And then like your wallet address is your wallet address. So what I'll do is I'll come over here. We'll pull from the multi-miner, because I have a lot of my temp addresses in here. I'll edit this. Now you'd have your address maybe on your Jax wallet or whatever, wherever you're sending it. So I'm going to copy that ETC address there, and then you can go in there and just paste that guy right here. And then you select your miner. So you could do Claymore, ETH miner. We do Claymore 15 on that, and then you could see it puts it right here. You don't need to reconnect. You don't need to reselect another miner and then just save that. Now see that? Now that sets it up for Todd's wallet. We'll save. And then now if we go back to wallets, you'll see that. So these are the same wallet addresses because I use the same thing, but you could separate that and then have two distinct different wallet addresses. So when you're pointing the rig, you could point the rig differently, which is pretty sweet. So now we got some wallets in there that we can choose. Now the next thing is going to be adding a rig. So we're going to come back in here. We're going to, from the beginning here, I'm going to give it a name. We're going to call this EVGA red. And then description is a 6x 1070 rig. Password, we'll do an X. It's a 6 card rig. Whoa, little lag there. Anything else underneath it? Nope. Now the system info here, part right here, is where, you guys can see the OBSEC browse. So this external IP is the part that I'm talking about. So if you're online and you're about to show people this on how to do this, when this rig is online, and I'm going to show you guys how to get to that online part, this is going to put right over here your external IP. So if like you're streaming and stuff, you're not going to want that. I mean, that's good information if you really want it, but like having it just out in the open is kind of... So what we want to do though is we want to take this key is the part that we want. So we're going to have this kind of in our copy to clipboard. This ID is copied, but we need to put it on an OS. So we haven't done the OS part yet. We've done everything just logging into the website right now. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to pull out a USB stick. That's one of those Amazon orders. I'll link that on the page. Shameless plug for Amazon. All right, so now that this is on, we're going to download Etcher. So Etcher, we'll do a quick little 64-bit. Etcher is how it will write the image to that USB. So we're going to install Etcher on here. That way we can go ahead and run that OS. We're going to come over to here and we're going to go down, if this doesn't fully expand, if you scroll this down on the left-hand side here, we're going to hit the download and hit OK. Let's do a Control J. All right, that's downloaded. Let's extract that. So it's zipped up, so you need to extract the OS. It's extracted. Extract to an image file, and then from there you can run Etcher. You'll select the image. The image is going to be in your downloads under your hash. Extract. It's going to have the model, the version number. You'll open that. It's going to that USB drive. Sometimes you'll have to come in here and hit change and tell it what drive. Obviously it knew that it was the only USB in here. It's a pretty tiny image, yes, and then when you extract, you'll hit yes, and it's going to go through and do starting, and then since this is kind of like a free version, it's going to throw some ads to you here. But here, that's going to take a few minutes. So, all right, so this thing is done. It just finished. That's what all those little pop-ups were. That is the OS finishing through Etcher. And what I have found is I just cancel all that, hit OK on that because it's trying to get to the different locations, cancel, and then pull that completely out and then put it back in. And that's going to get you to where you can see essentially the mining OS drive. So for me, it came up as drive E. And then in there, under your config, is where you're going to put that token ID. So for each one of the machines that you're going to do, you're going to want to put the token ID in there. So that token ID that we were looking at earlier under your account, under the rig, you're going to copy that, and you're going to put that into this little text file here. So you come in here, and this is a lot like, it's just a way for the rig to be able to essentially phone home and get connected to. So we're going to come in here under rigs, under edit, under system info, and we're going to copy that, and we're going to paste it just in the root of that folder there, or just in the root of that file, and then we're going to save it. And then now that's all you're done. You're good to go. From that point on, this rig now is going to come up when I eject that. So there's not much to see here. This is really what you're going to see, and it's going to do an unpack. And then what we'll do is, I mean, that's essentially the screen it's going to set on for about, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, less than that. And now that's up. So that's essentially what you're looking at when it's all up and running. One worker. What we will not do is get into the details of the statistics page, because that will show my external IP, but that's okay. So we're going to switch this guy under rigs. I'm going to choose mining. All right, so that should be running right now. We got that selected. Ravencoin. Starting miner. We can hit the rig log. Let's say started server. Selected. Mining. Back to Ravencoin, and T-Rex, apply. Looks like the Walmart spinny, bro. Oh, we were running Ethereum. Let's go back in and try to change that. Let's do this. Let's go back into actually this. Edit this. Let's try. That stratum is wrong. I don't think it's 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do. Nope, it's 3737. It's port ID, bros. We're gonna add a new one. Save, rigs, mining, apply, T-Rex is fine. We're running, bros. We're up and running. It was the port. Troubleshooting live on the fly, which is good. This is good. This is why I like doing it live. Because that is going to be a critical thing, especially like not all of those are, I mean, it's a lot to upkeep. To the configuration management when the endpoints are changing is like the status quo of issues when you're looking at a DevSecOps world. So like Raven Miner randomly changed. I know when they did the hard fork, they changed their issue. You know, they changed their ports. It's pretty plug and play, but that's not their fault. Like that is when they were creating that and they were doing all that work for us. The Ravencoin miner, as an example of that URL for that particular mining pool, had 4547 on the port number, and then when Ravencoin went through its hard fork recently, they changed the ports when the hard fork, which changed the algorithm. To not be just x16R, Ravencoin miner changed the ports to make sure that they weren't getting a lot of bad shares because people were using the old miner, right? And it hadn't changed. They didn't want all that traffic that was just bad shares going. So that happens a lot, especially around hard fork time. So that's one kind of, I'd call it lessons learned in general from mining. Like whenever there is a hard fork, let's say Monero, we could almost spend an entire episode on Monero's RandomX. But anytime, one of the things that mining pools will do is they will change that port sometimes because they just don't want all that, because people are, not that they're lazy, it's just shit happens, and like you don't change your miner and then now you're sending bad shares. You're doing proof of work, you're getting a package, but the algorithm's wrong, so you're just sending junk. And so they'll change the port, so then they'll just deny it. So that was a case where the port was changed, and we were able to go in there, and now we see it run 130 megahash per second. Now, Obviously, this thing's using 1300 watts. We're going to drop that, saying 1300 here, it is actually using 1535 on the kilowatt, which is on this guy here. You can see where I keep going in to play around with the tuning. I don't think it's taking that power limit. I think what it's doing is it's ignoring that and it's going straight back up to the top. That is not what 80 would look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and we're going to do a 115. I think what it's doing is it's saying, yeah, no. And it's ignoring that and staying. And I have to give it a setting it'll accept. And then we'll probably have to do it through switches. Okay, that definitely took. So that's what the problem was. We're figuring stuff out here, bros. Today's like knocking it down, dragging them out. So this thing now is running 750 watts on the rig itself. Now it did take a small hit. This thing was about 120 megahash. It could be on a hard part of the, it depends on the mix cycle with Ravencoin. There's several coins that are like that when that goes through a heavy mix cycle. And there's a setting. So that is just setting all of them to 115. And it's playing, and we saw it at 105, at 85. That thing was sitting there churning 1500 megahash. And that is that kind of situation that you can get into with Linux, especially, to where it's a little kind of flaky when it comes to when it sends that command to the driver that's in Linux, and it's like you're telling it, hey, I want 105 watts, and it's like, screw you, 1500 watts, eat it. And then we just set it to 115, and now it's setting at like half, right? So that's that iterative testing. That's that kind of fun stuff to play around with. And that's why I wanted to go a little longer on this episode tonight, to make sure not only just test out hash rate, and I think we'll have several other episodes around this, especially as it starts to go through, but introduce the kind of basics when you're tweaking your rig to get your most out of it. The best, when I say the most, is the least amount of power for the maximum amount of hash rate for your situation, which will be different for people. Like if you're paying 6 cents per kilowatt, you may want to juice this thing up a little bit and get the maximum amount of hash power that you can get, you can get the maximum amount of coins, because you're not paying that much for power. But if you are paying a lot for power, you're going to want to kind of yield it back, but still get about 70 to 80% of what the rig's potential is.